about Revelation 13. There's going to be a mark of the beast.
Yep.
And we're seeing the development of that. But you particularly, you look at Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum, and you see what they're doing as setting all this up, right?
Oh, absolutely. And most people will get when the people are starting to hear more about Klaus Schwab. They're starting to hear more about the World Economic Forum. But they may even realize that, hey, wait a second, as crazy as this is, they are using the COVID pandemic as the excuse to basically take over the planet economically.
Right.
They realize that that's one of the game plans with this great reset, he calls it. They're going to reset the world's economy. They're going to switch to a cashless society. So people are starting to catch on to that. What they're not catching on is the other half of that first half, and that is it's not just an economic reset. It's not just turning the global economy under their control in a cashless electronic society. They want to biometrically tie everybody on the planet into this cashless digital system that they can control all kinds of things, including buying and selling, which where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
That's Revelation 13. And so I'm convinced that what these guys are doing, whether they admit it or not, know it or not, whatever, they're building the infrastructure
Right.
for what God warned about 2,000 years ago called the Mark of the Beast system.
So Klaus Schwab has a connection with Hitler.
Oh, yeah.
So talk about that.
Yeah. Well, he grew up in Hitler's world. Do you ever wonder what Klaus Schwab is up to, what's really behind his agenda? Just go back and do a quick study on Hitler. Do a study on the Third Reich. All the things that Hitler did and wanted to do if he had won World War II. And in a nutshell, I'm not joking, it's not hyperbole, that's what Klaus is now bringing to the whole planet. And it's not a surprise when you look at his background. He was born in Ravensburg, Germany. He grew up in Hitler's Germany. Klaus's dad, Eugene, was a friend of the Nazis. He ran a factory. And he also helped the Germans to make armament and things of that nature. He also used slave labor, POWs, which brings to light his phrase, Klaus's phrase today for the planet, you'll own nothing, be happy.
Yeah.
Like a slave POW camp, slave labor person. But he grew up in that environment, and his dad, Eugene's company, again, won awards from the Nazis, a model company. So this is his background. He was there. He grew up in that environment thinking that this was a great thing. So in 1971, he begins to establish this thing. It was originally called the European Management Forum. And in a very short amount of time, in 1971, he was able to amass a lot of people from around the world. And then in the 80s, he changed it to what we have today, the World Economic Forum. And that began to tell you really what the goal was.
Right.
It wasn't just helping Europe with their management of their economic. It really is a plan for the world. And his plan for the world is to basically bring what Hitler wanted to do and the tyranny that he only got as far as Germany to the whole planet. Now, really what you should call what he's doing is the rise of the Fourth Reich. But you can't say that because it's too obvious, right? So I'm not joking. You'd think he'd scramble it up a little bit better. He calls his program not only the Great Reset, we're familiar with that, but the other term he uses all the time is called the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it really is the Fourth Reich, but you got to scramble it up a little bit. And basically his vision for the planet, I call it a Hitlerian vision, is he wants to, because after all, they're the elites, they have the power,
Right.
They own everything and all that stuff, and it's their job to be stewards of the planet. And he even admits on tape that that's what they want to do. They're making the decisions to steer the planet. But what they want to do is they want to bring in this cashless economic system. They want to tie everybody into it with microchip technology. They'll control everything, buying and selling. He's really big on the brain chip, right? Which just happens to be one of the two places that people will receive the mark, right hand or the forehead. In fact, if you want to watch this video, this is Klaus Schwab in 2016 admitting on tape that just like we get used to, we've gotten used to having microchips in our clothing to track our every move, the next thing is going to be a brain chip. But this is about a 30-second clip.
Great. Let's watch this.
Au bout de ça, on parle de puces qu'on pourra s'implanter. Ce sera quand ça?
Certainement dans les 10 années à venir. Et d'abord, on va les implanter dans nos vêtements, c'est-à-dire wearables, comme on le dit. Et après, on pourrait s'imaginer qu'on les implante dans nos cerveaux ou dans notre peau. Et à la fin, peut-être il y a une communication directe entre notre cerveau et le monde digital.
But again, this is not a conspiracy theory. That's the actual interview. But he admits that just as we got used to having microchips in our clothes to track and tag, that one day, and he always seems to point to the head, the brain chip, right? And he did it himself. Now, here's what's wild. You're going like, well, maybe that was just a fluke. No. The very next year, 2017, at the World Economic Forum, he's interviewing Sergey Brin. Sergey Brin is one of the two co-founders of Google, who, by the way, is developing the AI.
Wow.
One of the AI developers who is going to run the back end of this matrix that they're building, because you got to think about how are they going to, they're going to tie everybody into this cashless digital system, merge it all together, control people's buying and selling this on a global basis. You can't hire enough people to run the back end. Well, that's where AI comes in. AI is going to run the system. That's why they're big on AI, because it's superhuman.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So anyway, so he's talking in this interview with Sergey Brin, and he admits on it, he goes further deeper, and this is the next year, 2017. And he admits, he goes, and one day soon, and he waves to the audience, he goes, we're all going to get these brain chips. And then he goes further. It's not just the controlling what you're buying and selling. He says, and for instance, we will be able to know how, for instance, how you respond to this talk that Sergey and I are having right now in real time. Okay, but again, it's not a conspiracy, it's on tape. Watch this, admit that plan.
There you go. What's this?
Can you imagine that in 10 years when we are sitting here, we have an implant in our brains, and I can immediately feel, because you all will have implants, and we measure your brain waves, and I can immediately tell you how the people react, or I can feel how the people react to your answers. Is it imaginable?
I think that is imaginable.
So again, it's not a conspiracy theory. This is why we love to share these clips, because you're talking about things that if you were to just have a verbal conversation with people, they look at you like you got some sort of tinfoil triangle hat on and you've gone off the deep edge. But this is why it's a lot more work. But we share the videos, and of course we transcribe them for the book. This is really what these guys.
Well, and this is one of the things I appreciate, because in your books you use their dialogue. You know, and you're showing what they have said, and then in your documentaries, and you and I've done a couple of projects together for Daystar, and you were showing these clips. This is what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's not made up.
No. And I liked what one guy had said. You go like, well, why would they tell you in advance? Because evil likes to brag. Right?